There are moments in life when exhaustion is no longer just about lack of sleep or working too hard. It becomes a kind of fatigue that slowly seeps into your emotions, your thoughts, and the deepest corners of your soul, making you feel as if you are quietly fading away. Much like when you live beside a narcissistic woman, that feeling does not simply linger, it becomes a constant state of being. It is not only your body that grows tired, your heart and your mind begin to tremble as well. Little by little, you start doubting your own worth, questioning your memories, and at times even doubting the clarity you once trusted. What hurts the most is not the loud arguments, but the silent manipulations, the moments where blame is shifted onto you so smoothly, the moments when tenderness suddenly turns into coldness within just a few seconds. These moments repeat themselves long enough to make you shrink inside, to make you feel confused and directionless within your own relationship. And it is difficult to even name that feeling when, on the surface, she appears confident and strong, while deep down she is constantly terrified of her own ordinariness. This journey is not merely about facing a difficult person. It is about reclaiming the voice you lost, the peace that was erased, and the parts of yourself that were damaged by subtle manipulation. If you have ever felt confused because you could not understand how someone could disrupt your inner world so deeply, you are not alone. You are in the right place where we can look together at what has been hidden, understand why you hurt, and most importantly, regain the control over your life that you truly deserve. Stay with this video, because sometimes a single right perspective is enough to change everything. When you enter a relationship with a narcissistic woman, you rarely realize that you are slowly being held inside an invisible cage. There are no threats, no shouting, no obvious signs that others could point to and say, "This is control." Instead, it begins with things so small you dismiss them at first. A casual remark that unsettles you for the rest of the night. A disapproving glance that makes you question what you did wrong, or a long, heavy silence that forces you to guess her mood. And these tiny fragments, stacked quietly over time, form the unseen bars that confine your emotions and your thoughts. You don't notice it immediately. Most of the time, you simply feel yourself becoming a little more cautious, a little quieter, a little more anxious each time you speak or act. You begin to filter every word before you say it, not because you are rude or reckless, but because you have learned to fear her dissatisfaction. Her apologies, when they appear, are not meant to heal. They are decorative patches laid over cracks. Beneath them, the intention to control still pulses. Her kindness is never just kindness. It comes with conditions, and it always leaves you feeling like you must try harder to deserve even the smallest affection. She teaches you, without ever saying it aloud, that love must be earned through compliance, through silence, through enduring unfair moments without naming them. Slowly, you lose sight of where your wants end and where her influence begins. Your boundaries fade. You give up small parts of yourself in the name of peace, to avoid her sudden coldness, to escape the silent punishments she uses whenever she is displeased. The truth is that a narcissistic woman does not fear losing you. What frightens her most is the moment you see past her perfectly polished mask and recognize the fragility beneath it. And when that happens, she tightens the cage even more, ignoring your pain, suppressing your voice, and forcing you into the role. She already scripted the role of the person responsible for all her emotions. Arguing cannot free you. Explaining only pulls you deeper. Trying to fix her will only drain you further. This is not a fair confrontation. It is a story you were never allowed to rewrite. The only way out of this invisible prison is acknowledging that you have stepped into it and then refusing the role she imposed on you. Freedom begins the moment you understand that you are not a character in her story, but the only one who has the right to write your own. And from this point on, you begin to realize that the only thing you can truly control in this chaotic relationship is not her behavior, but your own response. Words, something you once treated as a simple tool for communication, gradually become boundaries, a form of emotional armor you need to protect yourself. In the hands of a narcissistic woman, words can become a hammer that shatters your confidence. But in your hands, they can transform into a shield, gentle yet firm, strong enough to block distortion, blame shifting, and twisted truths. You do not need to raise your voice, prove yourself right, or dissect every detail in the hope that she will finally understand. What you truly need is clarity. Clear, steady phrases powerful enough to stop you from being pulled into her emotional whirlpool. A narcissistic woman draws strength from your reactions. The more confused you become, the stronger she feels. The more you explain, the more leverage she gains. But when you respond with calmness, the control slips away from her grasp. The power of the right words lies not in creating more drama but in exposing it. A phrase like, "I see what's happening," is not an accusation. It is a spotlight illuminating what she tried to hide. A phrase like, "That does not belong to me," is not avoidance. It is a boundary, a separation between your emotional world and the chaos she attempts to dump onto you. And a phrase like, "Respect is the minimum," is not a request. It is your standard one she cannot negotiate. The key is this: you are not saying these phrases to change her. You say them to hold on to yourself. Every time you calmly return the truth to where it belongs, every time you refuse to let her emotions swallow you, you take one more step away from the invisible cage you once did not see. And that is why words, when used correctly, are not weapons to wage battle, but the very key that unlocks the door back to your freedom. At this point, you begin to understand that real strength does not come from explosive reactions, but from calm, steady words, words powerful enough to pull you out of the psychological web a narcissistic woman has woven around you. The 7 phrases below are not magic. They are shields, emotional armor, that allows you to protect yourself and reclaim the parts of you that were quietly stolen. The first phrase, "I see what's happening," is the first beam of light cutting through the fog. It is not an accusation, but a declaration that you are no longer blind to her patterns. For a narcissist, concealment is power. When you see the behavior clearly, her carefully crafted mask begins to crack. The second phrase, "That is not mine," returns the emotional weight she has been placing on your shoulders. Her anger is not your responsibility. Her insecurity is not your burden. This is the moment you hand back the chaos she created, and for the first time in a long while, you feel lighter. The third phrase, "Respect is non-negotiable," is a boundary you may have never dared to draw. You are not asking, you are stating. Respect is not a reward, it is the foundation of any healthy relationship. If she cannot offer even the minimum, she forfeits her access to you. The fourth phrase, "Your emotions belong to you," ends the unspoken role you have been forced into the emotional caretaker. You no longer absorb her storms. You no longer let her emotional weather dictate the climate of your life. The fifth phrase, "I do not need to explain myself," dismantles one of her favorite traps, pushing you into endless explanations. Every justification gives her more material to twist. Refusing to explain is refusing to give her entry into your mind. The sixth phrase, "This discussion is over," frees you from circular arguments designed not to resolve anything but to drain you. When you end the conversation, you reclaim your time, your energy, and your mental space. And finally, the seventh phrase, "Your opinion does not define me," cuts the deepest thread of emotional dependence. She could control you only because you cared too much about what she thought. When you speak this phrase, the emotional leash breaks and her power dissolves. Mastering these 7 phrases does more than protect you. It brings you back to yourself. Yet when you begin to change, when you stop reacting the way she expects, that is when the first storm forms. A narcissistic woman never accepts the loss of control gracefully, because in her world, every relationship revolves around maintaining dominance. Your boundaries, something healthy and normal for any human being, become a direct threat to the power structure she has built. And when power is threatened, she fights. The storm may appear in many different forms. Sometimes it is explosive anger, filled with accusations that make no sense. Sometimes she transforms into the helpless victim, crying to others about how cruel or heartless you are. She may attack your reputation, spreading stories to make herself look innocent and you look guilty. And strangely enough, she may suddenly become sweet, loving, and affectionate, as if you were the only person she ever cared about, simply to pull you back into the cycle. All these reactions are part of what psychologists call an extinction burst, the desperate thrashing when someone losing control tries everything to pull the other person back. It is like a rope stretched to its limit. It snaps the hardest just before it breaks. That is why you may feel panicked, guilty, or unsure. But beneath the chaos lies the truth. She is afraid. Afraid that you finally see the manipulation. Afraid that you are no longer her emotional supply. Afraid that the power she has relied on for so long is slipping away. This is not the moment to retreat. If you back down now, you return to the same cycle you fought so hard to escape. Consistency is the key. No further explanations. No justifying. No re-entering the endless conflict. When you hold your ground, the storm weakens. And when it fades, you will discover something invaluable in the quiet that follows. You have reclaimed ownership of your emotions, the very thing she quietly took from you long ago. Boundaries are not cruelty. Boundaries are self-respect. And when you finally dare to set them with a narcissistic woman, you are not just protecting yourself, you are taking the first step toward reclaiming the life you deserve. And then, when the final storm has passed, you start noticing quiet but profound changes unfolding within you. As the fog of manipulation lifts, your inner voice, the one buried beneath accusations, confusion, and endless arguments, begins to return. At first, it is hesitant, almost fragile, but the more you listen, the more you realize it is the part of you that had been suffocated by unrealistic demands and emotional distortion. You begin to see clearly what you sacrificed, the boundaries you lowered just to avoid upsetting her, the warning signs you ignored because you wanted peace more than anything else, the moments you shrank yourself, suppressing your emotions until you became a shadow in your own relationship. Leaving a narcissistic woman means more than walking away from a toxic person. It means breaking out of an old pattern, one that taught you that love equals endurance, and that harmony only exists when you abandon yourself. From that point on, you begin learning how to live again. You learn to trust your intuition, the very thing that was twisted by her denials and contradictions. You learn to respect your own boundaries without feeling obligated to justify them. And most importantly, you realize that peace is not a luxury, but a standard. Some people will leave your life as you change. They are attached to the old version of you, the one who tolerated, who bent, who always gave without asking for anything in return. When you become stronger, clearer, and more honest, they become uncomfortable. Let them go. Because the moment you step into your new self, the right people appear, those who see your true worth, who respect your limits, and who love you not because you endure well, but because you are genuine. And naturally, you begin setting a new foundation for every relationship that follows. One where peace is normal, respect is non-negotiable, and love is never tied to fear. This is your life now, the life you should have had all along. And from these quiet transformations, you begin to understand that leaving a narcissist is not the end of the journey, it is the beginning of finally returning to yourself. There will never be a single perfect sentence that protects you from every wound. But these 7 phrases, spoken with calmness and conviction, can break years of silence, years of control you did not realize you were under. They are not swords to attack. They are shields that protect the truth you were once forced to bury. And that truth, the truth about you, your worth, and the person you are becoming, is exactly what a narcissistic woman fears most. She can twist stories, deny your feelings, and create countless narratives to make you doubt yourself. But she cannot rewrite the truth, and with every step you take to reclaim your voice, her power dissolves a little more. Remember that your journey matters. Your story, no matter how painful or complicated, may become the guiding light for someone still trapped in the darkness you once walked through. If this message resonates with you, share your thoughts not just to help the algorithm, but because your voice deserves to be heard, respected, and valued. And if you wish to continue this path, the path of self-understanding, healing, and building healthier relationships, stay with the upcoming videos. Because you deserve a life where peace belongs to you. A life no one has the right to take away ever again.